What's up, everyone? Astrologer Eric Rosen here for your weekly Viking Rising Astrology Horoscope for Sunday, September 17th through Saturday, September 23rd, rolling into the fall season 2023. Really glad that you guys are here, so check it out. I mean, this is the last season in Virgo, so this is the time to really get right in your personal life. You know, Virgo doesn't necessarily deal directly with our personal life. Like just us individually. I mean, it very much deals more with the schedule, the day-to-day reality, how people are a part of that. Communication is very much a part of that Virgo energy. But it is the understanding that once we transition into the fall season, we go into that autumn equinox, we go into Libra, we're dealing much more in the transpersonal realms of things. This is just a general rule of thumb with astrology, that we're more outwardly focused. You can sort of think as the first 6 zodiac signs in terms of at least seasonal astrology, how it affects the collective, as being something where we're dealing with things more on a personal level. We're getting our, Aries, our identity down right. We're getting, our worth, our value, our money situations down with it being Taurus and so on. And we're building a foundation throughout that so that once that first half that zodiac is completed, we can go out into the world and express more of that fluidity in things. On top of that, we're still in 5 planets retrograde, even though Mercury has went direct. And so we're still reviewing a lot internally. We're rehashing. We're looking at the old, stuff. I would say especially the old identities, the old, expressions of our realities. We're looking at old ways that we, connected with kids, our inner child, with courage, with money. There's just so much on the table that we're reviewing with all these retrogrades, and it can be a really heavy karmic time, I would say, for those that do what's called spiritual bypassing, where they're not really allowing themselves to actually experience things, I would say, on a mental and emotional level, to repattern, the mental understanding of things so that we can be different when these planets go direct, and especially go into the autumn season, and especially into eclipse season. That's a whole nother thing to get to as we go into Libra season by the end of the week. But we do these things so that we don't take our old baggage with us, so that we don't take our old karma with us. But, it's not enough to just try to master things on a mental level. That's what, as I'm recording this, that this moon in Libra and, of course, Mars and South Node are still going to be here, as we go into this fall season. So we can't just, weigh our thoughts out and just focus on the mental things only. We do need to give space for those emotions to come through. That's going to be especially relevant as we start the week, as once we wake up Monday morning, we're going to be seeing that moon in Scorpio. So intense truth. If you've been weighing out things and creating subjective judgments, trying to get like a feeling, an awareness of like what's true for you, you probably already know a lot of what those things are. But if there's any balls that you're juggling up in the air and just karmic patterns that are old wounds and old timelines that you do not need to take with you past this Virgo season into the fall season, especially into eclipse season, because it does cut off old energies. Now is the time to do it. Now is the time to use that moon in Scorpio for that first 2.5 days of the week to be like, okay, no, I'm not doing this shit anymore. And Scorpio does very much deal with life and death situations. It's fucking edgy. And so this is good. This is where we can make decisions. This is where we can draw a line in the energetic sand, if you will, to say, I'm taking a stand. Like, yes, maybe our wounded ego in Aries, where that North Node is at, is not going to be able to be pacified, and we're going to have to give a voice to that, that wailing ego that doesn't maybe like the way that things are, or like how the setup is, or, feeling at a disadvantage. It reminds me of having to make like a trick golf shot to like win a match, and feeling at like a giant disadvantage to even win in our lives, because as the astrologer that I learned from, my mentors taught, is like that South Node and Mars, anytime they're in a sign, you can feel like you're the loser, like you're not winning the match. And so in Libra, this is going to deal with making decisions, our relationship situations, just any peace and harmony that we're trying to create in our life. I would say especially, also looking at stability, looking at you, Jupiter, looking at you, Uranus over in Taurus retrograde. So, but that's life. This is where we make deep foundational decisions. That new moon in Virgo, by the end of the week, we're going to be seeing that first quarter moon square. So this is a reminder of like a check-in point of like, what timelines were we choosing? That new moon in Virgo, the reality was making a nice trine over to Uranus retrograde. And so it's being magnified with Jupiter there, that we're not blowing this out of proportion as astrologers talking about this, that the timelines that you're choosing, the relationships that you're choosing, the skill set, the self-worth that you're taking forward with you, it matters very much. And so we don't want to judge the situations or the circumstances and be like, well, I wanted to have, I don't know, sounds strange, but I wanted to have Tiger Woods as my caddy. I wanted to pick him and mentor him and get him back to feeling great. And like maybe he's got to make his own decision. Maybe he's got to go out and be himself, and that's fine. It's like we have to be okay with like where the circumstances set up and realizing that maybe we don't have a caddy. Maybe we do have one. It's like, who knows? Like there's no telling. This is not comfort zone astrology. This is like a astringent of sorts. It's like astringent. It's like we want to bring the blackheads to the surface, right? Like we want to strain the negativity out. We want to get the stuff like out of us that's just like not working for our lives because we really don't want to carry it forward. The good news is that I think part of this mental repatterning that's happening by making these little edits with this Virgo energy is asking us to not try to figure it all out on our own. In these retrogrades, there's a deep karmic spiritual energy that's there for helping isolate situations to view them. But I think, can we get out of that Virgo energy of busyness? Can we get out of Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces of, thinking that there's some type of iron fist in terms of like the media, or like some irrational Pisces fear that we don't have the integrity within us and the spiritual integrity and the reality integrity to actually make a change in our lives, when that's actually been a lot of this past 2.5 years, was trying to convince people, that they didn't have, whether it was the spiritual backing or the skill set or the realistic backing, whatever it was, whatever, resources that we actually need to create the reality and create the timeline shit that we want to go on, that wasn't there. So whether that was just a spiritual test through some type of relationship, whether it was a self-sabotage psychological situation, whether it was more on the collective front of trying to teach people, just stay indoors or mask up or just get the next, whatever it is, that somehow we're supposed to hand over our sovereignty. And I think that's what's rough about this North Node and Chiron in Aries, that we still need to be looking at no matter what season that we're in for at least the next 16 months, where it's like going, okay, like no matter how we're feeling about our strength and the actions that we have to take, that it's going to be a sensitive situation. We can't do the South Node Libra thing and make a judgment and put it on a relationship or put it on, the South Node Libra brings up, because it is where the sun sets, it's like just trying to get to the end of the day, that the sunset or something, just to feel comfortable. The sun coming into Libra with Mars and South Node there, I think overall is a positive thing for those of us that understand like what we're illuminating is our relationships, and making sure that those relationships have true harmony, that actually match the strength and integrity of who we are. And if it doesn't, it's definitely time to, I think scrap some things there that haven't been able to be weighed out or figured out, and to like not keep trying to go down karmic, situations in relationships that aren't good for us. I think this is more about finding our true spiritual strength and our identity through relationships, but also by being okay with like ones, if we don't feel like we're winning, to really be honest and say like, this is where it's at. This is where things are not truly working, or this is where we're isolating from relationships is another one that comes up.